I'm in San Jose, California, on the city's historic east side, in a neighborhood once known as Sal Si Puedes. It was one of many Chicano communities established in the early 20th century around this city when it was a regional center for agribusiness and orchards and fruit canning. In fact, just a few blocks from here is the house where an orchard worker named Cesar Chavez lived with his family in the early 1950s when he began his career as a labor organizer and community activist. Behind me is the interchange where Highway 101 meets Interstate 680 and Interstate 280, bathing this neighborhood in sound, in the smell of exhaust, and in the particulate matter of 250,000 cars per day. The story of Sal Si Puedes and the freeway is a familiar one in 20th century America, part of the history and the infrastructure of environmental inequality and environmental injustice in the 20th century city. In the mid-1950s, after the passage of the Federal Interstate Highway Act, city leaders across the United States began planning and mobilizing to build new, cutting-edge urban transportation systems, the freeway, to connect suburbanizing workers and shoppers with downtown. In between were literally hundreds of working-class neighborhoods, communities of immigrants, of African Americans, Chicanos, and other people of color who clustered near downtown. And in San Jose and many other cities, these neighborhoods became the prime targets for demolition and displacement, the price, city leaders believed, of progress. In not a few places, highways were designed with more insidious intent to segregate or eliminate communities of color that the white downtown power brokers saw as impediments to progress. The discourse of power and progress and public interest at the expense of a few small, parochial, local interests is easily read in the daily newspapers at the time and in the landscapes that continue to dominate our cities even today. Harder to hear are the voices of those displaced, the views written out and buried beneath rivers of concrete. In a few places, those views are evident and memorialized in murals and in song and in memoir. And in San Jose, one of these was the voice of poet Lorna D. Cervantes. Writing from her home in Sal Si Puedes in the 1970s, Cervantes described the coming of Freeway 280 as like a blind worm wrapping up the valley from Los Altos to Sal Si Puedes. And in her 1977 poem, Freeway 280, Cervantes captured the voices and the views and the environmental sensibilities of neighborhood residents with the coming of the freeway. She wrote, "Las casitas near the gray cannery, nestled amid wild abrazos of climbing roses and man-high red geraniums, are gone now. The freeway conceals it all beneath the raised scar. But under the fake wind sounds of the open lanes and the abandoned lots below, new grasses sprout. Wild mustard remembers. Old gardens come back, stronger than they were. Trees have been left standing in the yards. Albaricoqueros, cerezos, nogales. Viejitas come here with paper bags to gather greens. Espinaca, verdolacas, yerba buena. I scramble over the wild fence that would have me kept out. Once I wanted out. Wanted the rigid lanes to take me to a place without sun, without the smell of tomatoes burning on swing shift in the greasy summer air. Maybe it's here, en los campos extraño de esta ciudad, that I'll find it. That part of me mown under like a corpse or like a loose seed." I don't have words to add to that, but here we are in a landscape of love, of loss, of power, of rebirth in the 20th century city. Sal Si Puedes, San Jose, Lorna D. Cervantes, Highway 280.